60 seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You have 60 seconds to comply. This is minute 57.
Part man.
Pod machine.
Or pod.
This minute begins with Bob Morton and two women whose affections don't come free, and ends with Boudica rudely interrupting the party.
Yes. Or as I put it on my notes, the hookers and cocaine scene.
Yes, that's a more direct way to put it, yes.
Well, so I didn't bring up the last, because we did, with this minute, okay, this scene technically started like the last, 10 seconds of the previous minute? Like, the opening line is like, there's something about the way it sounds, Vice President, it just turns me on.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like literally in this moment, that's the only line of dialogue that's the same in the script.
Yeah.
All the stuff about, being smart is so sexy and all that, that's not there.
Okay, so they're just sort of riffing.
I don't know, because the original dialogue is, Norton, Summer Storm, I love the rain. Hey, do you like to bump crack? Tawny, it's one of the things I like to do. And I did not know this, but bumping crack is essentially when you get a small amount and then snort it. Not the line, just a small amount. That's what bumping crack is.
Just putting up your nose.
I did a little bit of research into snorting cocaine, and I hope, the authorities just don't see this and go, what the fuck?
Yep, don't use Google.
No, I don't give a shit. I know enough author people that if they haven't arrested so many authors for some of the weird shit they Google,
yeah,
I'm probably fine. I'm a photographer. He just Googles weird shit anyway. Look at the people he fucking has to research. But so I do have a lot of notes on the cocaine thing, but my first note I just gotta say is cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Yep, of course.
Just to get that reference
Obligatory. Yeah, do prostitutes just get free drugs? Is that what's going on here? Is that just their life? I don't know.
I imagine, because they're dealing with Bob Morton, the new VP of OCP. He just bought it. He bought it all, and so they're getting it for free because he's picking up the tab.
Yeah, I think that's a full kilo. He just got a big kilo of cocaine. Buy it in bulk.
No, it's just behind the couch. You got that plate of the serving tray of cocaine, old what's his face from Scarface.
Yeah,
Al Pacino's character.
Tony Montana.
Tony Montana size mountain of cocaine. Which, given what happens to the end of this scene, is a bit of a waste.
Snorting it off hookers' titties. What a life this man lives.
Yeah, I don't know how much that's a thing, but
it is now.
It is now. It's one of those moments maybe when I'm rich and famous enough, that could be something I could do. And it's no, I don't know about you, but never been into the drugs. Never been into the drugs.
Yeah, no. We're very boring people. We do not find nightclubs, drinking, partying, drugs, any of that interesting.
Yeah, we're reviewing this high-octane movie, and we've come to the few minutes where it's just man, we just don't do this shit.
No.
I guess that gives us an outsider's perspective on such things.
Yeah, I mean, it's I love cars, but even in that area, I'm not into all the drag racing and the hooning around and all that. No, everything is just, my whole life is very just cruisy. It's very chill. My whole life.
You go into a Fast and Furious movie and go, can they just stop the cars, just let them just stand there for a while so I can just Google them? Google them.
Yes.
I'm going to goggle them.
Yes. Yeah, I was playing, which, I think it was Need for Speed, and there was this one part where you're just driving home from work, and I just went, oh, this is actually quite nice, and the sun was setting, and the music was really chill, and I was like, oh, I'm just taking it in, and then next thing I know, Game Over comes up on the screen, wait, Game Over? Was this a race? What the fuck? Yeah, you're supposed to race every single time you were behind the wheel of a car. I went, okay. Funny, but also from a creative standpoint, I kind of feel don't you want a range of speeds, emotionally, psychologically for your player? No, this is Michael Bay thinking, just fast, so it's going to be fast.
No, I think the problem is in the title. It's a Need for Speed.
Even when you're just driving home from work, got a fucking need for speed through peak hour fucking traffic. I don't know, man.
I'm gonna find you the Need for Moderate speed. Sorry, I'll say it again. I'm gonna find you a game that's basically a need for the speed limit.
Look,
a need for a casual Sunday drive.
Look, I bought a convertible. She is a cruiser, not a bruiser. I do not like to go very fast. I get scared on freeways.
I own a hybrid. I can't throw shade.
We are not living life in the fast lane.
No, fuck no. Move my back, no.
No, oh man, I get vertigo if I exert myself too much. No, I'm too scared.
I'm just thinking I'm the kind of person, if I'd won lotto and I buy a freaking Lamborghini, be like, do.
Yeah, no, I'd be the dickhead who would raise the stance of the Lamborghini so it's more convenient to get over speed humps when I'm parking it at the shopping centre.
No, the only appeal for me to say an indestructible car like Kit is just so if any other asshole on the road rams into me.
Yes. Yeah, no, exactly.
I turbo boost over the bastards.
You look like crap.
Fuck you, kid!
Just get away from me.
Yes, I want a molecular bonded shell on my car and myself, if possible, please.
Oh.
Seriously though, hang on, just had a thought, why the fuck Wilton Knight made this one fucking car with this molecular bonded shell? You're not going to give that to, I don't know, ambulances, police cars, put it in the armor of soldiers, helmets, for anyone, cyclists, motorcycle riders. No, nah, fuck them, all of them.
No, I'm just imagining the thing of aha, you can't kill me. I've got a molecular bonded crash. Yeah. Molecular bonded bike helmet, and then just shoot you in the face.
Yes.
Damn it! Haha! This is why I was saying earlier in the podcast, if I was gonna design a Robocop, I would not put his brain in his head. I'd put it behind the heavily armored chest.
Yeah, there's no real reason why it has to be up in the skull, I don't think.
Yeah.
Other than maybe because, the way human beings orient themselves, but I don't know, I mean, it's not like every culture...
Your brains doesn't know that if your eyes are still there, but even then, they're not using his real eyes, are they? Because he's got a mechanical vision.
Well, the ancient Egyptians didn't think that the brain was for anything. They're just sort of some sort of padding to keep your head in shape. I don't know.
Yes.
They thought your heart was what you did your thinking with, because, of course, when you're thinking, especially if you're nervous or excited, where are you feeling it? Not in your head. You're feeling it in your chest. So, yeah.
Isn't that one of the reasons why they would remove the brain as well? Hook in the brain, swiveling around a bit, and then whoop.
Yeah.
Wasn't that part of the embalming process as well? It was because they're just we don't need this thing.
Yeah, they didn't even embalm it because the heart, the digestive system, all of that, they knew what that was for. They could feel what it was for.
Yeah.
But the brain, they just went, it's just, some padding.
Let's just get rid of it. We don't need it.
Yeah.
We got to try and make the body as light as possible in this gigantic triangle.
And yeah, I would love to know. Obviously, we don't have a lot of records of the time, but if there were people who were questioning that and going, well, it's got to be there for a reason, right? And surely they saw people who had head injuries, and they weren't quite right after a head injury. No.
Yeah. Well, didn't they become pharaohs?
Yes. 3,000-year-old political jokes.
I'm not a man. I'm a god.
Yes.
If a pharaoh asks, "Are you a god?" you say yes. Anyway, Robocop.
But yeah, so if his eyes are where a human's eyes regularly are, and then the command center, the brain, is down in the chest, you'd have no idea. He wouldn't know until you opened him up and went, oh yeah, we've actually put it over here, and you're like a clown car now. We've also put, there's a printer, GPS over here, yeah.
Yeah, GPS device, Wi-Fi, COVID vaccines, all that stuff. Speaking of the brain, so okay, not being a drug person, I'm sure I've read about cocaine in the past, but I decided to give myself a refresher course coming into this. So I did actually look on, I think it was a government website. I think it was American government. It was an addiction site. Primarily, what I wanted to know is, why would you snort cocaine? That's the question I asked myself.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you did any research or know a bit of this.
No,
yourself.
all I know about cocaine comes from Miami Vice and 21
Okay.
Jump Street. Yeah, we are both Millhouse level nerds here, so.
Okay, well, I guess I'm technically a little bit of a bug because I've done some research. Not that I'm saying, 80s cop shows are completely accurate. Do you know the reason why, you test cocaine by rubbing it on your gums?
No.
It's because numbing effect. Because the cocaine has a numbing effect when you put it on your teeth. So if it's not pure cocaine, you can. Well, I'm sure you can ingest it, but if it's also, it's one of those things if your gums go numb, it's cocaine. Or at least it's working.
Well, good to know. Next time I'm buying a key of it, I'll be able to test the veracity of it.
Oh,
this is
I'm gonna get the Star Trek. I'm going to get the Star Trek reference in now. Have you ever seen a movie with... what's it called? It's a movie with Robert De Niro and William Shatner playing William Shatner.
Oh, okay.
Doing his TJ Hook. I think it's called Showtime. Yes, Showtime. So 2002 buddy... Eddie Murphy. I knew it was Eddie Murphy. So it's an Eddie Murphy, Robert De Niro vehicle, and it's basically about two policemen who have to be on a cop... going into a cop show, and William Shatner's great in it because he's basically just playing himself as TJ Hooker.
Okay.
And the gag is that William Shatner's showing him how to test for cocaine. And it's I think the line is Shatner goes puts the thing in, and then TJ knows it's cocaine, and then Robert De Niro just turns around and goes, or it could be poison, and that's why we use chemical test kits.
Yes.
It's not a great film, but that's still pretty funny. So, funny you talk about the brain, because that's part of the whole thing with cocaine. So, the reason why people snort cocaine as opposed to injecting it, because injecting it actually acts quicker. So,
yeah,
you inject it, it goes into the blood, it goes directly into the bloodstream. So what happens is the chemical process of cocaine is once it's absorbed, so it goes into the bloodstream then goes into the lungs. It oxygenates the cocaine, then that sends it to the heart, and then that spreads to the brain and other parts of the body. What happens is, of course, then the reaction that happens with the brain is it actually reduces the removal of dopamine. So, of course, dopamine is very important to our mood. It's it's the happy chemical, for lack of a better term.
Feel good pheromone.
Exactly. And our body produces dopamine in various ways. But of course, due to biochemical processes, it also reduces the dopamine levels. We notice it or not. It just happens. Our body's constantly producing, absorbing, and dissolving dopamine. And cocaine slows down that reaction, so that's why, it's the happy drug, and it can induce euphoria and hallucinations and stuff like that. But essentially, it's fucking around with your dopamine levels in your brain chemistry. The difference between snorting, from what I can gather, and injecting is snorting actually takes longer for it to happen. It's not as fast absorption, so essentially what's going on is you're absorbing it through your nose canal, then it starts going to your blood. And then the same process essentially happens. Injecting it is shorter. You also use less when you're injecting cocaine than you do if you snort. You actually need a lot more.
Then why do people snort it?
However, it lasts longer. It lasts longer. You also got to remember, this is where you get to social economic issues as well. Political theory, social commentary. Rich white people could afford more cocaine. So it became more of a party drug. That's why the whole Tony Montana mountain of cocaine. He could get away with that. He's rich and white. Whereas poor black people who wanted it, they have...
Well, he's not white.
Oh, I'm talking about demographics here.
Well, Bob Morton is, but yeah, Tony Montana is not.
Yeah.
The whole thing is that he's a poor immigrant.
Yeah, I know, but I've got a point here.
Okay.
So what happens is, of course, that poor black people, particularly poor black people, they can't get hands on a lot of amount of drugs for the money they've got. So, of course, there's, they have to cook it and stuff like that to try and basically get the bang for the buck. This is where it gets really fucked up, in that laws were passed in America during, the whole war on drugs to stop cocaine. Cocaine's bad, we've got to stop cocaine. But there were more penalties and more convictions over using crack cocaine and the like, injecting cocaine. Also, that's the other thing is, injecting cocaine is more visible. Tracks are more visible than snorting, unless you've got a heavy snorting problem, which can, of course, damage the root canals. But when you're snorting, you've got less chance of physical deformity, or at least less chance of signs. So if you're rich and famous, you might do cocaine through the nose because no one's going to notice the mark tracks on your arm.
Right.
But people with powdered cocaine were less likely to be convicted or have reduced sentences compared to crack cocaine. And so, there's a corollary between the punishment and the crime of black people and white people, because those demographics use it in a particular way. And I was trying to find because there's a video about that. I think it's from Sean, the Skullboy on YouTube. He talked about it in one of his videos, and I just couldn't find it. But I believe that is a legitimate statistic. I'm not sure if it's changed now, but during the 80s, that was a big thing. And I think as well as the 90s, they cracked down on it even more.
Yeah.
So, why is Bob Morton snorting cocaine? Because he's a witch-right dude, and... it's dopamine gets produced more with activities like sex. So, therefore, hookers and blow... There's a good reason they're connected together.
I see.
So, it's all connected. So, that was a hell of a rabbit hole to go down to research for this, but...
I'm glad.
Wow.
Now we know.
I'm sorry. I'll get off the soapbox now.
Yeah, information we will never need to use in real life, maybe. Hopefully not.
But, we also padded out an episode.
Yeah. There's some great fashion on display in this minute as well. I want that green leather jacket. And
yes!
I have a thing for jackets. I have too many of them. I keep buying more. You can never have enough.
Yeah.
But, and then the other woman's got this kind of gold halter top thing.
What is that called? Yeah.
LeMay, I think it's made.
I was going to say, is it LeMay? I can never remember.
I believe it is LeMay.
Again, for a movie that's set out of time, it does feel a little bit... that jacket is a bit 90s, because those shoulder pads are getting a bit big there. It is the late 80s.
80s, 90s. It's, jacket fashions didn't change too much between those decades, I feel.
No, it's almost like the jeans are like an unchanging fashion staple. Like, jackets may go through different cut trends, but they're still like... Leather jackets are still a leather jacket.
Yeah. My favorite leather jacket is indeed from the 80s, maybe 90s. We don't know for sure, but yes.
I just wear a cheap, shitty pleather jacket that's basically now just disintegrating after a year's worth of wearing it with a backpack. So my fashion trends are shit.
Life's too short for boring clothes. I just keep going to op shops, buying more stuff I don't need. I have a problem. I can quit anytime I want.
I kind of have difficulty going to an op shop for my clothing because I'm a very big man.
Well, just men's clothes in general. They don't really donate a lot. Men tend to wear things until they fall apart.
Yeah. I've still got t-shirts that are like 15 years old and I'll still wear them occasionally. Don't throw them out.
But yeah, this house is... We don't see much of it, but it is very cool. And I would love to live in an 80s house like this because it's just...
So, I do have some commentary notes on that. It's funny you bring it up. Apparently, this was a model, quote, model house, quote, of the future. Mm-hmm. It was a real house owned by people, and they bring up that apparently the owners weren't particularly keen on the shenanigans that's going on in this particular minute.
So, do they have that TV tower there in the corner? I'd love to know. And there's a whole wall of TVs. That's how you showed your wealth in the 80s, I guess.
I do not know. I haven't gotten to that in the commentary minutes, so I can't even give you spoilers on that yet. But I would imagine, given the luxury of this particular house and the fact that it was supposed to be a model house in the future, that was there. They might have supplemented it or not. They might have used some of the images from some of the monitors from the OCP boardroom or something. I have no idea, but yeah, it's very interesting. So apparently the owners of the house, Ed was saying how they weren't happy with like basically the sex and drugs, and it sounds like they wanted to change the dialogue on the script, and like they just didn't want them to be doing this stuff in their house. No idea if they were happy with the guy getting shot in the legs and all the other stuff, which I'm assuming would cause a bit more damage with blood splotches.
Yeah.
That's not been mentioned yet, though, and that's
You're turning our house into an amoral sex den.
Oh, is that not a good thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I would be pretty happy about that. I don't know.
I've been alone for a long time. I'm not opposed to an amoral sex den. But knowing me, I'll probably like, can you just do it over there?
Yeah.
I don't mind you turning my house into an immoral sex den, but just keep out of my fucking way. I'm trying to watch YouTube here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to edit podcasts. Can you keep it down?
We are so boring as people. These few minutes have made me realize.
Yeah, whatever. Live your life. If you want to smoke cocaine over hookers' titties, more power to you.
Yep.
That's all I'm gonna say. You do you. Life is terrible. Life is terrible. Snort cocaine off a hooker's titties. That should be a billboard.
Yes.
Speaking of cocaine titties, I did have a look at the because literally this is the only minute we actually see these two actresses. So the aforementioned cocaine titty holder.
Yes.
The character's name is Chandra, and because these are kind of names you just forget, played by an actress known as Diane Robin. Now, her IMDb credits are ridiculously long. 112 credits to her name. She's still working to this day. Most of her credits are very much TV based. Sadly, no Star Trek that I can pick up on.
Shame.
I know, but
There's got to be some connection. It's 6 degrees of separation.
let me just double check. No, there's no Star Trek whatsoever. She has been in MacGyver.
Hell yeah. Well, okay, there you go. 6 degrees of separation. Kira, bloody Nana Visitor. She was in an episode of MacGyver, and if Cocaine Titty Lady is also in MacGyver, there you go. Star Trek reference done.
Well, shit. It's exactly what I was hoping to spare you from.
Oh wow, she's been in some good and she's been in some bad. Like she was in Renegade, which was a really bad TV series. But then she's also oh god, sorry. She was in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV series.
Ooh, what was with the 1980s and shrinking people? It had a real fixation with that.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was 90s.
No, but it started with The Incredible Shrinking Woman in 1981, and it didn't stop. It didn't stop for about 10, 15 years, just shrinking things, making things big. There's so many movies like that, and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is not the first at all.
Well, they did both of them. They did Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Honey, I Blew Up the Baby, and then went around to Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, which I haven't watched. I'll be honest.
Yeah, don't rush out to see that one.
I saw Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in the cinemas. I enjoyed that film.
Oh, the first one's fine, yeah. And who doesn't love...
Second one wasn't.
Oh, God.
Sorry?
I'm blanking on his name.
Rick Moranis?
Yes, Rick Moranis. I was like, Vince Clortho. No! The actual name. No, Vince Clortho. That's how my brain works. And it's just gone Halloween, so,
There's... Yeah, well... Rick Moranis has been in plenty of movies I like that I just know. I did go just Rick Moranis.
Yes.
But yeah, even throughout the last few years, pandemic and everything, Diane has had almost 9 films come out between 2020 and 20. She's currently filming one in 20 due to release next year. So very, very busy woman. The other actress, the character's name is Tani, is Andraine Sachs, and not quite as impressive, but apparently she was a former Miss Brazil in 1986 and has featured on the cover of over 500 romance novels.
Huh. That's a great career.
Yeah, she's only done like literally a dozen film credits. The last one being in 2006. None of these names really stand out. A couple of TV roles, but it's like there's things like Alien Intruder from 1993.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a lot of A-grade stuff. I'm not disparaging her as a role, but maybe she's just got other things to do. I couldn't find that much information about her, unfortunately. But she is from Brazil, so it could be one of those things where it's just mostly her American credits. I have no idea. But yeah, no Star Trek references. But yeah, it's there you go. One really staggeringly busy lady in there, like a lot of TV and a lot of roles. And the one that immediately looking at the Robocop wiki page is she was also in a movie Adventures in Babysitting, which I only just seen recently. It's the one where is it the guy who directed Home Alone? Does it Chris Columbus?
Yes.
It was like one of his first movies, and it's about the girl he is obsessed with Thor from the comic books. And
oh yes.
Yeah.
And it's bloody Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yes,
Thor.
as Thor. It's a great film.
Yes, it is. Very underrated.
Yeah, lovely, fun film, and I got to get my own copy of that. And the soundtrack is amazing. Lots of 80s greatness in that. And yeah, the plot revolves around like this. They accidentally pick up a Playboy magazine that's got like mob information on it. It's weird. And it's Elizabeth Shue as well. Of course, Back to the Future. We're talking about that last minute.
Yes.
It's all connected.
It's
Even though
all
it's got nothing to
connected.
do with Robocop. Yeah. Oh no, it does have something to do with Robocop, I guess. So yeah, there you go. I somehow managed to tie Robocop, Back to the Future to Robocop within 2 episodes.
Good.
See, we're not just go off on tangents.
It's all deliberate and purposeful, yeah.
It's all planned. He whistles innocently. So I'm just having a quick look over the notes. You got anything else?
No, not really. They're great minutes, but it's just what do you say about the very visual minutes?
Yeah. Well, there's not really much difference between the in fact, because there's like just basically so much little dialogue, or so little dialogue. There's just really not much between what's going on here and the book, and basically when Bodica turns up in the next, like literally at the end of this.
Yeah, the end of this movie. He's quite polite. He rings the doorbell. He
Yeah.
doesn't just barge in unannounced.
He has one of my favourite Bodica lines, but that's in the next minute.
Yeah.
Oh, just quickly nipping to commentary. According to Ed, that this is, even though it's in this minute of the commentary, it's from last minute. Ed says that the gong sound when Leon, does the crotch shot was added in post, of course, to make it funnier. And the actual reason why the director cameo was in there is because the editor thought it was even funnier to add that. It's just, that was the only reason why it ended up in there, because it was just funnier with that in than without. Editing. This is one of the very first of the night shoots they were doing, and Paul himself wasn't feeling very well. He mostly puts that down to, like, he says insecurity, but I'm going to say, it sounds more like anxiety. Apparently he was kind of a bit, like, overwhelmed with the kind of scale of production, by the sounds of it. And so, like...
This is his first major American thing, I think.
Exactly. So, like, I know he'd never done a special effects movie like this beforehand, so I think that was the problem, is that he was just probably going, I make all these weird small movies and I'm now doing this big special effects extravaganza. So
it's nice to know that even he feels a kind of imposter syndrome.
Yeah, he might not feel it now, but he also doesn't particularly work in America anymore after Showgirls. I wonder why. But that's all my notes regarding this particular minute.
Alright, gaslighting Robocop.
Alex, how do you feel? I feel fine, Dr. Norton.
If we have to.
61 begins with Dead-Eyed Murphy, so, the usual, and ends with an applauding audience.
Well, I've got an ancillary thing, because it's got our drop in it. We have to talk about this minute. We can't avoid it.
I feel fine. I'm okay.
I'm fine, Dr. Norton. So, actually, my note is, in regards to the Murphy family, how did they notice the difference?
Yeah.
Probably because the script told them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad about that, but it just feels... After dissecting this movie for so long, there's no chemistry between these people. So this big important moment just feels flat.
Yeah. Yeah, when he comes walking out and his family and Lewis are standing there and they're smiling and then he doesn't acknowledge and they're like, oh no, something's wrong. Really? That's how he is normally.
Well, it's not even that. Even then on a moment, so the kid's like, oh, he's going away.
They didn't even say anything. They're like, hey, Murphy, Dad, no, nothing.
Hello. Can you be bland with us instead of bland by yourself?
Yeah. Come bland with us.
Come bland with us. Let's bland away. Oh, fuck. That's got to be the drop, hasn't it?
Yeah. All I do is bits.
All we do is bland. No, the funny thing is, after going on about dopamine for the cocaine thing, so in the previous minutes, and this is like the tail end of that, they drop Roboflag's dopamine levels to control his emotional state. They drop it to literally nothing. But the research I found, I can't find a single correlation between dopamine and my emotions.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you had any input on that, because you know a bit more about the brain than I do, but even now just going, hang on. Did they just... Huh?
Well, if you don't have dopamine, you would be anhedonic, I presume. You wouldn't have emotion. Well, not that you wouldn't have no emotion, but you would just be very indifferent. You'd be depressed, basically.
Well, the thing I read was that it's also low dopamine is also tied to things like ADHD.
Oh.
Everything I can see about low dopamine isn't about loss of emotion. It's, let's just hear. Muscle cramps, spasm, tremors, don't need that because he's Robocop. Aches and pain, don't need that. Stiffness and loss of balance, constipation, doesn't need that. Difficult, there's physical elements.
Narcolepsy, yeah, because it's a neurotransmitter. So
yeah,
every chemical in your brain, it's not just for one thing, and that's where people... I mean, there are a lot of people who still think that you only use 10% of your brain, but...
Yeah, oh god, I hate that so much.
Drives me nuts. But so it's not like this region of the brain is for this region for the brain is for that, because it isn't I mean, it's roughly, you say, oh, well, the front of the brain, if you have a lobotomy, that does tend to affect the higher order functioning. And then
I'd rather have a bowl in front of me than a frontal lobotomy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I mean, there's so many stories of people who have had to get parts of their brain removed, or their parts of their brain were injured, and the rest of the brain, because of neuroplasticity, it adapts and moves those functions elsewhere. So
exactly.
The idea of flatlining dopamine, it isn't really accurate. Yes, if you do have a dopamine inhibitor, I believe that does cause anhedonia. This is just me from memory, but anhedonia just means pretty severe depression. Doesn't mean that you're a robot.
Yeah, well, here's the mental disorders, and I've just found them. Common conditions linked to dopamine deficiency. This is Medical News Today. Depression, schizophrenia, psychosis, and including hallucinations or delusions, and Parkinson's disease. I think we can probably knock one of those out. But so getting rid of all these dopamine, I mean, in a way, is not doing anything, but it's not tied to his emotions. Although, here's another one. Low sex drive. So he had no dopamine before he became Robocop.
Yep.
Snap!
That was the most depressing sex scene I've ever seen in a movie.
Oh god, I don't feel bad for the burn just then. I feel bad because it's like, man, that was such an easy fucking shot.
Yep.
I feel like I should take it back and just go, no. I've done enough cheap shots of this goddamn film. But it's true. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Thinking about the dopamine response for the cocaine if we weren't skipping, if we didn't skip a bunch of minutes from this damn film, it wouldn't have aligned up. But it is funny that we're talking about dopamine in the cocaine and then dopamine in the Roboflag. And yet, again, they still screw that up.
Yep.
I didn't do the research to find what an actual emotive neurochemical would be. That probably isn't one. They probably just went, what's a brain thing? Dopamine. That'll do. Click, 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 click.
Yeah. Trying to think of other brain hormones that you could have used. God, I'm blanking.
Dopamine, there's serotonin.
Yeah, serotonin could have been one.
There's a third one, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
There's one produced between mother and baby another time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The brain's complicated. It's very hard to remember all this stuff.
It's very complicated. It's almost like that thing I keep saying, biology is weird.
Yeah, there's a quote from a neurologist, I think she was. She said, if our brains were simple enough to understand, we would be too simple to understand it, you know?
Yes, I've heard that before. I can't remember who said it, but yes. It's crazy. Like, again, that's I think one of the reasons I hate the whole you only use 10% of the brain things, because it's really okay. It's misunderstanding that at low brain rates we use roughly about 10% of the brain, but it's spread out across our brain.
At any one time is more accurate, yeah.
Yes, but our brain sometimes will flare up to, I think it's 70% at most or something like that. But our brain also holds things like processing, memory, things like that. So it's not just one thing, and it's not just one part of the brain that's active at any given time. It's like the entire spectrum can flare up in all sorts.
So I think a lot about transhumanism, and I think it seems to be something that's most appealing to men of a certain demographic and age, where there is a lot of arrogance and hubris there. This, the rejection of nature and desire to control everything, and I think Robocop embodies a lot of those ideas of these, arrogant businessmen thinking that they can just reduce the human to its bare mechanics and fusing that with machinery. And
it feels very much like a capitalist idea in that sense of the body or humanity as a resource, not discarding the person behind it, and think of it, the body, as like, a commodity, a resource, a thing to be used, a thing to be exploited.
And I mean, my whole thing is about consent. I would love if we could ideally live in this utopian world where anything we experience, we are able to consent to. Do you want to just age in the normal way, or would you like to continue to enjoy your 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, for the next 100, 200 years? And, because obviously someone like me who basically lost their 20s to illness, it would be lovely to think, oh, no, you know what? If you still want kids 10 years from now, you are still going to be physically capable of doing that.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I kind of do feel a little bit, I wouldn't say out of time in that thing of like, oh, I want to go back to such... But part of me is like, I love modern day society in the sense of, like, say, technology. I like the idea of the internet. And I can think of, like, ways that my younger self would really love the things that we got now.
Yeah.
But I don't miss my youth. I miss times. I miss, like, things I could used to do. Like, I missed old role-playing groups. I miss stuff like that. But I don't miss being young. I think my younger self is an idiot.
Yes. Yep.
But I get what you're saying, going like, there's this bracket of time I'd love to go back and, like, maybe I would like some of that virility. I'd love to go back to before my back was a steaming pile of garbage.
Yeah, well, I think it's particularly important for women if they do want to have children. It's just like after the age of 35... the rate of
becomes more dangerous.
Birth defects goes up exponentially. So it would be wonderful if for women who, for whatever reason, just haven't had enough time, to give them more time in that respect. Or, there's so many reasons why someone would want to take control of their biology, just curing diseases. Yeah.
Could you imagine how better or worse it would be if men had that same issue? Men essentially... for lack of a better term, are potential donors for, if not all, the rest of their lives. Yeah, sperm counts can go down.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean they have a cutoff valve.
No, it's ridiculous.
So how bad would it be if men couldn't basically get their rocks off before a certain age? But at the same time, knowing how much of a piece of shit fucking species we are, that could get even worse. But also maybe there might be a bit of sympathy for, like, you know, not having a certain time buffer for it. But I imagine it'd be then you just get even more massive aggressive fucking dipshits. So I have to have a baby before now, and all that other dumb crap.
Yeah, and I mean, I used to believe in this. You know, I had all my issues with my body, and I love this idea of the Robocop scenario of being an android and just, or cyborg, and just rejecting humanity. But yeah, I realize now that no, humans are apes. We will always be apes. You can never take the monkey out of the man, and I don't think. Well, even just, you know, like basic things like phantom limb syndrome, or just needing the comfort of certain senses, you know, hugs. If you are deprived of these things, they can have profound psychological effects. And so the idea that this, you know, billion-dollar machine man Robocop would be defeated by not being able to have hugs anymore, it's so funny to me.
No, I'm just imagining, please commence Robo Hug.
Yeah.
Just the awkward as the arms come around and pat, pat, pat.
Yeah, it's even just basic things like sensory feedback and comfort and sleep like a normal person, eating like a normal person. Yeah, these are so important. And you know, someone who has to live on a very restrictive diet like myself, with the carnivore diet, and I can only eat once a day, yeah, you do notice how much it impacts you socially and culturally. Food is a huge part of our society. So, yeah, I think these transhumanists are really overestimating the adaptive capability of the human animal.
Well, we've talked about this briefly in the past. You've like asked me like my stance on it, and I'm pretty much the same to a certain degree. Like, you know, I like the idea behind some transhumanism. Do I think it's viable? No.
Nope.
Like, I think we as a species are just going to, you know, well, it's like anything. Going back to like something like media, like say Deus Ex, like,
I never asked for this.
I think that thing where when humanity potentially would have some kind of transhuman, when we start to incorporate the cyber into humanity, there's going to be a backlash, and there's going to be ostracization. There's going to be all that bullshit.
Yeah, like, I think that rebuilding limbs, you know, all the science that's going into it right now is to rebuild limbs that have been lost. Yeah. But what happens when we get to a point where people are removing healthy limbs, and when people are making those cosmetic modifications for fashion? Yeah. And, you know, humans have always done that. We've always done very radical things, lip plates and huge holes in areas with the plugs, I think they're just called. And, yeah, body modification.
Let's look at modern body modifications. When we were scientists finally able to do body modifications, it was always looked down upon. Even like breast enhancements is probably the biggest example. When that started to happen, there was a huge pushback. People were going, "How dare you do that? Oh, how that looks gross," and stuff. To a certain degree, yeah, early ones did tend to look a bit fake. That's, you know, and let's be brutal here. There's also a bit of sexism behind it. And stuff like that, because it was primarily women getting these done. Of course, people going, "Oh, I hate fake tits."
Yeah, it's funny that, yeah, we pressure women to feel bad about their bodies, but yet when they make steps to conform to that societal ideal of the perfect woman, oh, well, that's disgusting too. Well, okay.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But now we're like what, 3 decades into breast modification. And now it's essentially normalized. And there's even a trend, oh, God, I want to say about 10, 15 years ago, where girls were getting breast implants as graduation presents.
Yes.
And shit like that.
And then in Korea, they got facial surgery. Not so much chest surgery, it's more about the face.
Well, let's look on the male side of things. One of the most pressing issues, because really, realistically speaking, it's not. But you look at the hair recovery industry, like this whole idea that, and it's funny because I've just got a picture of Clarence Brodica and I'm just seeing the receding hairline.
It's so weird how that happens. It's like no other species has that happen. Why does it happen to men? It's so weird.
I have no idea, but it's just one of those things that even like hair loss has like become this billion-dollar it's probably not billions, but it's become this massive industry where people are trying to reverse it, stop it, or replace it. That's why you got the wigs became this big thing in like the 80s. Also became a gigantic joke in the 80s, partially because they look so fake, and it was mostly basically rich white men trying to hold on to some vanity.
Yeah.
But then you also got a swing where people now go, I'd rather shave my head than have a receding hairline.
Yeah.
So that's become a trend in and of itself, where people go, well, if I can't have a good head of hair, I might as well just have none of it.
Yeah, and then research has shown that actually going completely bald makes you look better to people than having the receding hairline.
Not everyone is Patrick Stewart, unfortunately.
Yeah, weirdly, in the first few seasons of Next Generation, I think he goes completely bald later, but in this first few seasons, he's still got the receding hairline, and you just go, yeah, that's Peace Stew, looking great.
I think with Patrick Stewart in early TNG, because he had white hair, it almost looked like he was bald anyway.
Yeah, it's what
and I don't think he shaved his head until literally X-Men. Even throughout all the Star Trek movies, he still had hair, and he had the Trek brows, he had the Trek burns and all that type of stuff. But it worked for him.
Yes. So that about covers it. No, that's my show.
You can use that one. I'm happy to keep that in.
Yep. All right, that about covers it. Where can we find you, Simon?
You can find me at Helios Photos and Fandom Crossing. I hopefully we'll be getting back to... I've been saying this for a while, but hopefully we'll be getting back to Kung Pao Into the Minute very soon, once life has settled down. And where can the lovely viewers find you?
Find me at traviandesigns.com, patreon.com/traviandesigns, and The Greatest Regeneration on Instagram. Oh, and also Courtney Colson on YouTube.
Speaking of YouTube, you can find us on the Tube of You, Simplecast, Spotify, Apple, Google, do all the bullshit algorithm I keep telling you about. Like, share, subscribe, comment, rate, review, all that other crap. Just do it. Make us popular. Please make us popular.
And until next time.
You ever wonder what it's like to snort cocaine of a hooker's Robocock?
Oh, nasty.
Lubricated.
Lube.
I don't like mixing my lube with my cocaine. It just gets gritty.